All right, so this is Choy's video explaining the hidden MMR system. Because if you didn't know that your grades literally have nothing to do with your matchmaking, all MMR is dictated by a secret number. A secret number that, like, we have no way to see or do anything about. So that's pretty cool. So he's going to go through and explain how that works. And apparently there's been a shadow nerf to SWF, which I have not heard of. So, yeah.
Live by Daylight can be a confusing game when it comes to how the ranking system actually works. Every player has a devotion level, a grade rank, and also prestige levels. However, none of these have anything to do with the players that the MMR or SBMM system is actually pairing you with. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly—
And the reason for that is we used to do the matchmaking based off the grades. But the problem with doing the matchmaking off the grades was you would, like, as you guys have found out through the current grade system, you, like, as long as you play a lot, you end up hitting the Eerie ranks pretty easily, right? Like, it's more, grades used to, like, grades are more about, like, play time. They're not really about, like, skill or, you know, playing well. Like, they're essentially just play time. So what you'd end up having is, back when we used to actually do matchmaking based off of these numbers, is you would have somebody Eerie 1 at like 300 hours, but you also have somebody at Eerie 1 at like 3,000 hours, which was like such a crazy gap. Crazy gap. I remember your video about rank 1 meaning nothing back when it used to be called. Yeah, because you know why? I think I used you as an example in that video. Because I think you're the one, I think you're somebody, Hulk, that hit rank 1 at like 200-300 hours or something like that, right? Like, you hit it really, really low. But I hit it, but, like, I was also theoretically rank 1, but at that point I had like 2,000-3,000 hours, right? It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like you at that point at 400 hours were nowhere near the same skill level as me at like 2,000 or 3,000 hours, right? Like, we weren't even remotely at the same level, but according to Iridescent rank 1, we were. So that's why it failed as a matchmaking tool, because, like, once you hit rank 1, you could literally just, like, get such vastly different skill levels. It's like when you're in like the greens and the purples and the yellows, once you're in those ranks, like, matchmaking was a little bit more rigid and made a little bit more sense. But once you got into Eerie rank, it was just kind of like whatever, right? Like, you could get anybody. You could get people of like vastly different skill levels. And it's like, it just didn't work. It just didn't work, flat out.
MMR is working behind the scenes using a mock-up of information from hackers, behavior themselves, and also info that has been data mined. Furthermore, I'll explain why there's pretty good evidence that the system was intentionally set up poorly as a shadow nerf to survive with friends.
Really?
Alright, so
that part I don't know
at
about.
the beginning and quickly talk about grade ranks, because they are the most misleading feature for new players. On the 13th of each month, grades reset all the way back to Ash 4 for every player. You then have a month to rank back up to Iridescent 1, which is the highest rank in the game. The closer you get to Iridescent 1 for each role, survivor or killer, the more blood points you get as a bonus next time there's a grade reset. But again, this basically has nothing to do with
the way the Wesker's just
MMR
ominously
rating. As
staring at me.
survivor, you can die every single match and still hit Iridescent grade 1, and at least for now, the same goes for killer.
He's just like
every survivor and then letting them go at the end of the game. Put simply, grades are basically an indicator of how much a player has played in the last month. So now let's move on to MMR. When a player first starts playing DBD, they are put into what is essentially a kiddie pool. The base MMR for these players is 650.
Oh, that's where it starts,
playing for a certain amount of time and seeing how the players perform, their MMR will be massively adjusted. For instance,
yeah, so like a test bracket is good MMR, by the way. I will say this. Good. This is a good thing. A testing bracket is a good practice in an MMR system. You want to be having vastly different kinds of players fighting new players, because if you're on a Smurf or if you're just naturally talented at the game, you're going to plow through everybody really, really quickly. So you kind of have to have them, you know, sometimes facing stronger, you know, players to kind of, you know, put a hard cap on their growth, because they can't just, like, you know, you don't want it to where they just like pop on a Smurf and just blast through the game really quickly. You want to have it, you know, want to have them potentially be facing people who are of similar level to them, even though they're smurfing. That way you could have them kind of like, you know, properly measured. Whereas, you know, on the flip side, you want the lower end as well. You kind of want a lesser extreme. That way, people who literally have no idea what's going on, have never played the game before, and are super scared, can kind of like stretch their muscles and kind of figure out what's going on. So having a bigger bracket is actually a sign of a good MMR. Good MMR.
Is escaping every match, or the killer is killing all the survivors every match in the 650 MMR testing bracket, the game will recognize that and bump them straight up to somewhere between 900 to 1000 MMR. This is the point where the grind actually starts. For both killers and survivors, 20 MMR can be gained per match as a maximum. The system itself is very simplistic. Survivors gain MMR for escaping exclusively through the exit gate. Hatch is considered a draw, so no MMR gains or losses. As for killer, the more kills, the more MMR is gained. 0 to 1 kill is an MMR loss. A 2k is typically an MMR draw, and a 3 to 4k is an MMR gain. Two additional factors are the length of the match and the MMR
which is weird.
of the opponent. If a match reaches 10 minutes, it has a bigger impact on MMR gain, and if the enemy team or player has a higher MMR rating and they lose, their MMR losses are higher and the lower MMR side gains more. Once reaching 1600 plus MMR, you enter the highest matchmaking bracket of MMR in the game, and this means a few different things. To start, the soft cap of MMR is 1900, which means players start gaining MMR at a significantly slower rate once passing this threshold.
I have a suspicion he's not even gonna. He hasn't even said this yet. I don't know if he has the data, but I highly suspect so many people are here. So many people are 1900. So many people are 1900. I guarantee that we are in a pseudo situation similar to what we were, like what I described at the beginning of the video, where everybody's around 1900. Like everyone's around 1900, and they've just like completely messed up entirely in this whole skill-based matchmaking thing. Like I feel like we're all here. Because at least in terms of like, especially my killer, when I play killer, I lose like once a day. We lost twice yesterday. I lose like twice a day in like a 5-6 hour play session. And I'm constantly gaining 20 MMR, 20 MMR, 20 MMR, 20 MMR. I bet you so many of us are like 1900. So many of us are 1900, which defeats the point of a skill-based matchmaking system. If everybody, it's so easy to obtain MMR that it's no longer actually accurate in measuring skill at all. If everybody can, if the skill is just everybody's at the same skill level, which they're clearly not, there's no point.
Most streamers and content creators for the game play around the 2000 to 2200 MMR rating, and the absolute best players in the game get up to around 2400 to 2500 MMR. Past that, a little under 3000 is the actual hard cap.
Really? 3000 is the hard cap.
Interesting. Now keep in mind that every player from 1600 MMR up to the hard cap are all in the same matchmaking.
That's stupid. That's dumb. What did I just said, I suspect that this is what's happening. 16,000 to 3,000 are all in the same bracket. Keep in mind, you gain like 20 a match, right? 20 a match that you win. 16,000 to 3,000. 16,000 to 3,000. That entire bracket's in the same skill level. No, they're not. It's like this is rank 1 problems all over again. When we used to use the grades to matchmake. Rank 1 meant that you had 300 hours sometimes. Rank 1 sometimes you were fighting literally odd Starva. Because technically you were the same skill level according to the game. According to the game, you guys were both rank 1. Odd Starva's rank 1, you're rank 1. Literally you were the same at 300 hours. This is... I suspected.
Poll. However, DBD does have matchmaking ladders to try and keep match quality as high as possible, so let me give you an example. If let's say a 4-man survive with friends, to keep it simple, that all have 1600 MMR search for a match, and these are the other 4-man swifts as well as the killers who are currently searching for a match at the same time, the system won't just randomly assign matches. Of the currently queued players, it will try to find the most balanced matches between all of the currently queued players, meaning that the 1600 1600 MMR SWF is more likely to play against the 1600 MMR killer than the 2500 MMR killer. That said, if there are not enough players currently queuing up at one time, the matchmaking parameters will expand to
which
a
it
larger
should.
group of
That's a
players
good sign.
outside
That's
of
a good
the
MMR.
normal MMR brackets.
MMR
Since
does that.
1600 MMR is the highest bracket, it can only go lower, often sucking players up into MMR hell, where showers don't exist and any talk of grass is illegal.
This is where this is where you get like where you're like, God, well, how did I get that player in my lobby? That's where you get weird stuff like that. It's like, how did I get that player in my lobby? It's like when queue times are bad and they start sucking in people that don't belong there. That's how you get bad players. Because like a good MMR does that. It expands to like accommodate for the fact that the queue times are long. That good MMRs do that. And honestly, it's good because like some of these 1400 MMR Swifts, like they might be really, really good, and it's like time to test their metal, quote unquote, time to test their metal against a stronger killer, right? And see if they can handle it. But the problem is like because queue times get bad so often in this game, it's not a test of your metal every once in a while. It's a test of your metal all the time. And like Alice was saying earlier, perfect example. Like Alice said, perfect example. Like so Alice will like lost matches and still ended up facing sweats. You were probably playing during a time where queue times were just bad. So even though you had like quote unquote your metal tested, like the game was like, oh well, you know, instead like a good matchmaking system, you go against that really like you'll be like that 1400 MMR and they'll throw you up against like an 1600 MMR killer, and you're like, oh crap, they beat us up, they stomped us in, right? A good MMR at that point would be like, oh okay, well clearly they're not ready for that yet. You know, it's like, okay, perfect example of this. When your parents were teaching you to ride a bike, there was a certain point where they took the training wheels off and just tried to see if you could do it by yourself, right? They took the training wheels off, pushed you, and saw if you could do it. And you know what? You fell, right? Like you probably fell. You probably fell and scraped your knee, and you're like, oh, crap. And they felt bad, and they're like, but like to them, the parent goes, okay, they're not ready for that yet. So either you try again later or you put the training wheels back on, right? This MMR system doesn't do that. This MMR system keeps pushing you and pushing you and pushing you because it's prioritizing speed over effectiveness. So what it's doing is, like if this was the same scenario with like the bicycle analogy, the parent would push you, see you fall down, scrape your leg and go, but are we sure you don't know how to ride a bike? Pick you up, push you again, watch you fall and go, we're kind of under a tight time frame for you to learn how to ride a bike, so I'm gonna pick you up and push you again. Like that's that is what this MMR system is doing. It's just like continually just picking you up and pushing you down, and not getting that. Hey, maybe you're not ready for that yet. And that's like a huge. That's why you keep running into these situations where you get matched up with people that like you just shouldn't be matched up against, because the system is not identifying that like, hey, that was too much of a challenge. It's just kind of going, who cares? Matchmaking time, teehee.
Legal. Also, once a player hits 1600 MMR, their MMR losses are protected, meaning they can lose more games without actually losing much MMR. I suppose this was done to keep players from deranking if they happen to have a few bad matches, but still belong in the high MMR bracket. Finally, according to data given to us by Behavior, it seems that the 1600 MMR bracket consists of something close to 5% of the player base. And now, up to this point, you might be thinking that the system sounds kinda decent. It's doing its job well, so what exactly is the problem?
We've already identified problems.
There's a few. The system screws over solo queue players really bad, possibly by intention. It's massively exploitable by both sides, and lastly, it's incredibly unhealthy for DBD specifically.
That's a party game.
And we'll talk about all of that and more in detail throughout the rest of the video. So now that we've covered the basic concept of how MMR works, let's dive into killer-specific MMR. Every killer you have has a different MMR rating. This is why when you queue into a match with a specific killer, you can't swap to another killer unless you cancel.
I miss that. I miss that so much.
However, once you've reached 1600 MMR with about 2 to 3 killers, the game
would you guys like to just switch your killers again? I wanna test the water. Would you guys just like to switch your killers again? Like I would like to just like I don't care if like I get stomped. Like we have bot matches now, right? So if I really want to learn Deathslinger or really want to learn Oni, I can just go into a bot match and mess around and learn, right? I don't think we need this protection of not being able to switch. I don't think we need that protection anymore. I get more potatoes when I play Huntress than when I try a nuke killer or something else. Interesting. I have the reverse situation. Like, I kind of shy away from playing my mains because my matches are always intense versus, like, other characters which, you know, are a little bit more balanced. I don't have to play Hag. Yeah, literally. Like, remember we faced Sip the other day? We faced Sip and Neo? We were running Columbine Eruption Legion for, like, a build request, right? I would love to have switched off that. You know? But you can't. Yeah, like, I think with the advent of, like, killer bot matches, that we don't need this insular protection for like, going out into the wild and just playing the game. You can just go into bot matches and practice as much as you want and then go live. I would love to be able to switch again.
100 MMR, regardless if you've ever played them before or not. So that does make it difficult to learn new killers, especially ones that operate significantly different mechanically like Nurse or Huntress. Again though, killer is pretty straightforward when it comes to MMR, whether you hooked survivors 12 times, one hooked them each, or literally just let them all bleed to death on the ground, it's the same.
And I think this is like kind of the biggest flaw with killer MMR. I think this is the biggest flaw in killer MMR, right? This is the biggest flaw in killer MMR, right? Is that, like, higher hook games is a sign of skill. Higher hook games are a sign that you were able to, like, have good chases, consistently down survivors, and put a lot of pressure on the team as a whole. This hooks matter way more than kills do. But this is why you see people tunneling people out or camping and all this stuff. The stuff that realistically doesn't take any skill. That's why you see that more popular, because hooks don't matter at all, even though that is the more skillful play, is to get more chases won. Doesn't matter. So it's just measuring you based on how much of a dick you can play like, how much of a jerk you can play like. It's measuring more how much of a jerk you can play like, and not like how good you are at the game. How much can you play this like a comp game? But I guess that is different.
In the same MMR gain. Now you could say that's not very healthy for the game, which I do agree, but as far as an MMR system is concerned, it's really the only viable system that can be implemented in DBD.
So I guess there was like a 2-month period before that.
To killers. Alright, now we'll talk about Survivor MMR, where again the only factor when it comes to MMR gain is whether or not you escaped through an exit gate. It doesn't matter how much or how little your teammates did in a game, anyone who escapes through an exit gate gains MMR.
Yep.
And anyone who dies loses it. Now recently, as a result of a lot of complaints about this system, Behavior updated it to where if a survivor did a lot for their team but still died at the end, they don't lose as much
that
MMR
was recent. This was very recent.
But they still do lose MMR, which I have to be honest doesn't really make much sense.
It doesn't, but at least it sounds much.
The system was intentionally designed to keep Swifts at higher MMR.
Yep.
So it's now time to put on your tinfoil hat, because this is completely conspiratorial on my part, but if you are designing an MMR system for Survivor and you want it to be effective in gauging survivor skill levels, you would not base it solely off of escapes, especially when you know that the vast majority of survivors—
The thing that always confuses me about this argument, the thing that always confuses me about Dead by Daylight when it comes to, like, they said it was like I remember when they were first rolling this out, and they would give all the reasons as for like why the MMR system is not more in depth. The reasons they gave were like, it's too hard to track the things that are good in this game. But they have a whole emblem system dedicated to tracking things that happen in the game, and it confuses me. I'm not saying use the emblem system like solely as how you determine MMR, but like you literally have systems in the game to track in-game situations. Like you have a chase emblem. You do. Like you have things that track progress in the game and things you do in the game. So I don't know why you can't incorporate that. Is it because you can't, or because you don't know how much you should, or if you just don't know how? Because to say, like, it's too hard to determine what happens in the game, you have a system that tracks what happens in the game, literally. So you guys are clearly able to see, like, take a peek at the game and see who did what, because you reward us for that with the emblem system in the end game. So I don't know. It doesn't sound too far-fetched that they're unable to see what's happening in the game and reward things that are skillful. It doesn't sound out of reach, but they always phrase it like it is, and it's really confusing.
In solo queue. So the most logical explanation for this is that behavior is fully aware that Swifts escape significantly more often than solo queue players. The larger the Swift, the more common the escapes. So it seems completely reasonable to say that the system was specifically designed to make Survive with Friends, or more specifically good Survive with Friends, play against the sweatiest killers. But now enters a large problem, because we know that the vast majority of solo queue players will never be able to reach the same level of consistent escapes, no matter how well they play. So now you are left with an MMR system.
This is the problem that that Fire and I run into when we're playing Siege. It's that, like, we get terrible MMR, or, like, because everybody's running in groups in Siege. Everybody's on comms with their buddies, but it's just the both of us. Like, we're not in a 4-man, we're not in a 5-man. It's just the two of us. So when we play, like, we're always going into, like, 5-man comms sweat squads that are doing call outs, pinging, like, out of this world stuff, like, really, really sweaty. And it's like, we can't fight against that. I mean, we can. Sometimes we win. Well, that's because we're stubborn. But it's miserable. It's legitimately miserable, because we can't ever compete with them. Like, we really can't. Like comms are just good. Having information that you're unable to obtain naturally in the game is just good. It's just good, and it will always be, not even just good, the best thing. It will always be the best thing. But, like, we can't do anything about that. We just, like, there's just nothing we can do. So it's just like, I don't know. Going against a 4-man and solo is so painful. It is. I don't solo queue in that game, like, ever. I literally only play when people ask me to. And that's, like, it's just pain. It really is just pain. And I don't know.
At the top and under MMR brackets are filled with killers who are expecting Swift level efficiency in every match they play.
This is my least... I've said this before. This might be a whole video I make some of these days. Come here. Come here. You're not facing Swifts all the time. You are not facing Swifts all the time. Shut up. You are literally not facing Swifts all the time. If you think you are, you're an entitled little crybaby killer. Shut up. You are not facing Swifts all the time. Even if you are facing, you are commonly facing Swifts, not all of them are sweating. A lot of them are just chilling with their friends. Stop saying that. God, that gets on my nerves so much. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves with, like, people, like, in this game. Wow, they're Swift. It's easy. To me, it's easy to tell if there's comms going on, right? Even if it's not the full team, like, you know, good gen rotation. Like, gen pops, all the gens pop, and they're already on the door. Like, just little stuff. There's little things that, like, if you actually play the other side, it's easy to tell, like, oh, well, that was kind of extra efficient. And, you know, if you check in the end game, you're like, oh, okay, well, they're friends with each other. If you check their Steam Pro, oh, well, they're friends with each other. You know, it's actually not that hard to tell if comms is happening. But people call comms on any good play ever. Not like plays that would require a little bit more information to be pulled off at the efficiency that they are. Just every good play ever means Swift. And it's just... It infuriates me. Really makes me mad. Sometimes survivors can organize well, just based on even just perks that they bring. There's probably many weird sus plays that killers probably look at me and go, "What? How did he know that?" Because I use Fogwise, right? Like I know what you're doing as long as I'm hitting my great skill checks. Like, oh, are they in comms? You know, it's like there's plenty of ways to kind of like vaguely mimic comms with like Bond and Windows and Fogwise. Like, there's plenty of info perks that help you make more informed decisions that aren't even Swift. But, you know, every time I get beat at Swift, I I hate that. There you go. Yeah, I hate that so much. If you do that, if you call it a SWF every single time, you're, you know, there's no other way to put it. You're a little, like you're a little crybaby. Like I mean it. Like you're a little crybaby, and you need to like get over yourself. Like homie, most of the people that it's not even kids either. That's the thing. That's like the thing is like, well, they're just little kids. They like to cry. It's like no, a lot of these are grown adults. A lot of people who play this game are grown adults. Grown adults. You're acting like a child. Get over yourself. God. Anyways.
Pair that with the fact that players can get to top MMR simply by hiding every match with Soul Survivor and Wake Up, then you start to see the holes forming in why solo queue players don't believe MMR actually exists. How can MMR possibly be real if your teammates have such widely different consistency and skill? Well, in the same way a player can boost their MMR by hiding in a bush, good survivors can lower their MMR by just not escaping through an exit gate. The system is very exploitable, and players have rational reasons for both lowering and raising their MMR level.
You see, this is funny. This is a funny story. There was, when the first advent of, like, when SBMM first went through, when MMR first went through, a lot of survivor mains thought it would be the smart idea to, like, okay, well, if escaping is the only thing that raises my MMR, obviously I don't want a high MMR because I don't want sweaty matches. So what they would do is they would just do risky plays. They would just only do risky plays. Like, they would always, like, trade. They would always, like, they would play riskier because they're like, well, I don't want to gain MMR because I don't want sweaty matches. And what would end up happening is they just started, like, tanking their MMR, and it got to a point where they would only get bad teammates. They would only get bad teammates because they tanked their MMR. And it was the funniest thing to watch happen. It was like, oh, well, I'll make up ring, and I'll just play riskier, and I'll never escape, and then I'll always have easy matches. It's like... Nope, now you're just only getting bad teammates. And then people got so mad. It's like, they just, like, didn't think it through. It was the funniest thing. Just like, aha, you tried to manipulate the system and you got dunked on. Stupid.
Good survivors want matches where they don't have to rely on their teammates, and bad survivors want matches where their teammates will carry them. Now, don't get
I made a video about that.
It is 100% possible for solo queue players to get their MMR up to around the 2000 to 2100 MMR range and have really good teammates. At this MMR level for Survivor, you're either filling in for a SWF or you have really good other solo queue players on your team. However,
this happens a lot. This happens a lot to me on the Tuesdays. Like, if you guys notice, like usually usually we're with another duo. Like, I know lately on the Tuesdays, like the last month or so, we've had like at least Des or at least Fusey. But like, remember on Tuesday we used to solo queue all the time, and we would always, it would be like they're a duo or like they're a trio. You know, like that. It is really common. Like the higher up you go, that you're just kind of like popping in to fill in for like a partial group. So yeah, they're pushing bad players into high MMR. They are. That is true.
Minority of players, and even a somewhat small run of bad games at this MMR could potentially kick solo queue players back down below the soft cap, resulting in even more awful matches. All in all, it's a very bad system for solo queue players, and the old PIP system did a much better job for a number of different reasons.
I don't think it's better.
Now let's talk about
its own
why
issues.
SBMM
I think they're both bad.
Daylight is a failure. Put simply, it massively increased the competitive mindset of the game by
when Uzi and Fire play, it's like hell. It's literally hell. And I got a lot of that is probably because they're both like, they have an unholy amount of hours in the game. those two combined, probably, yeah, you would be scared to hear the number. But yeah, like when the three of us play, it's terrible. It is terrible. Our fourth teammate is always bad. Like I said, it's like the reverse of the situation. And when it's the three of us playing, the fourth player is always bad. The fourth player is always terrible. And then the killer is just like bonkers out of their minds. Like they're just like they like McDonald's gift card on the line, like always triple quad slowdown, like every game. It skyrockets us to a MMR that like it is a pain to play in. It is a pain, and I do not do it. I love my friends, but like I don't want to do that. I don't I don't want to do that. That's why I've been playing less off stream for many other reasons. But that's a big reason I've played DBD way less off stream. Is like, do I really want to? Do I really want to have that high MMR survivor match against Overbrine Eruption, Pop, and Wesker with the best add-ons all the time? Do I really want that? The answer is no. The answer is no. No, I do not.
Player psychology into thinking every match they're about to play is going to be the sweatiest match they have ever played in their life, which unfortunately is largely reinforced by
it's largely true. This is what we talked about in there was another video we talked about this about. We were like where it was like it's like it's the Coco video. The Coco video talking about the true problem in DBD. It's like, you know, you would run into a streamer every once in a while that was like, oh, well, they're on a kill streak, so they're sweating, right? Or you'd run into like a survivor on an escape streak, so they're sweating, right? Now it's like, I feel like it's like 1 in 3 games, right? Like, it feels like 1 in 3 games you're running to some gamer who, regardless of if they're actually on a streak or not, they're playing like they are. They're playing in that like streak play style. Like, if they lost this match, it would mean a lot of bad things for them. Like, it would mean the end of their streak. And it's like 1 in 3 games almost. It's like some dudes like playing like the whole streak's on the line. And it's like that a lot of that is because like the advent of skill-based matchmaking. Like, everybody, like, it's made that the most or not the most common, but a much more prevalent play style on both sides is play like this match is your last in a streak, and you got to keep the streak going. So it's just very, very intense all the time, and it's exhausting a lot of players, which is why a lot of players are leaving the game. Is it's exhausting, and you can see that. You can see that. We pointed this out a lot. We pointed this out a lot when skill-based matchmaking first went through, but for the most part, largely, it's still true. We used to go into the Steam charts, and we would look at the player count since skill-based matchmaking has been introduced. And generally, DBD's not even... Wait, where's DBD? You're not even the... Where are you? Are you not in the top 20 games on Steam anymore? Oh my god, you're not. Wait, oh my god. That's not a good sign that DBD's not even in the top 20 games on Steam anymore. Top 25 even. Oh my god, where are you? Oh god, they're 30. Yeah, they've fallen a lot. Okay, so like, if you look generally... Let's see, skill-based matchmaking was... August 9th, 2021. So if you look at like August 2021, lost 11,000 players in 1 month. And it, like, most of these from here on out are red, right? Like, before this, you see green, red, green, red, green, red. Like, bad months, good months, bad months, good months. But after August of 2021, it's mostly red. You see a majority loss besides when a Resident Evil chapter comes out. Or they have an anniversary event, right? Like, besides big events, this game's on a decline. And this is where it starts. That big 1100,000 drop. This 11,000 drop, August 2021, when that was introduced. The game has been on a steady decline ever since. People are exhausted. People are tired. This game hit 62,000 players at peak in June 2020 or July 2021. We're now down to 33. That's over half your player base, dude. That's half your player base, brother. Look at that. 62,000, 33,000. Where'd your player base go? Yeah, it's not as, like, bombastic and as fun as watching VHS die, but, like, it's kind of scary to see that 62,000 people all the way down to 33. June 2021 was Nemesis? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. That was the first RE chapter. Hey, Justin, what's up, dude? So, yeah, this game's been on a steady decline. Makes sense, it's really high, but look, even look at, like, the next months, right? Like 51,000? Still looking at like 50,000, even 50,000 for the next like 3 months compared to 33, like current. That's not good, dude. That's not good. You have lost half your player base in the last year and a half. That's not good that you're losing your average players that much ever since. Like they have little, they're like, hey, look, look at our anniversary event, or hey, look, more Resident Evil. They have little spikes, but other than that, like, they're not thriving anymore. And this is the consistent thing that's caused it. It's just kind of sad to see. Like in 2020, this game had 5 straight months of consistent growth in 2020. 5 straight months of consistent growth in 2020. 2021, right before SBMM hit. 4 consistent months of growth. And big growth, too. After that, they can't even get a streak of 3 going. To me, like, the writing's on the wall, right? Like, the writing's on the wall that this was a bad decision, and they just stuck to it. They're like, okay, whatever. This is fine. Whatever. We're sticking to it even if it's an awful idea. And I don't know. I think it's not, like I said, it's not as flashy and bombastic as VHS, like, dying. But we have, over the past couple of years, kind of lost half our player base, at least in the PC side of things. So that's kind of spooky. It's kind of scary, right? So, yeah.
Match they're about to play. In the old PIP system, when a player got to red rank 1, the top rank at the time, they were in a pretty large pool of all other red rank players. Now, of course, you could run into sweaty teams or killers running full meta, and it was almost as annoying as it is now. But then you would get through the match knowing that most likely your next match wasn't going to be a sweaty one. But with MMR, every match plays like a competitive match until it doesn't. Yet at that point, it's basically too late. Let's say a killer comes into a match expecting sweat, they're running the best.
Yeah, this is the problem with skill-based matchmaking. It's like I was talking about, you're clearly seeing, especially with the team charts, exhaustion. It's not about it's bad to have sweatier matches. That's fine. Honestly, there are always going to be players, no matter how much of a party game you have, there's going to be sweaty boys doing sweaty things. It's every like I was saying, it's like 1 in 3 of my matches is this, right? It's like 1 in 3 matches. Both killer and survivor, 1 in 3 matches, it's like some sweat nerd. And it's just like, it's exhaustion. Like, I don't mind having sweaty games sometimes. A good skill-based matchmaking system has some easy matches, some average matches that are down to the wire, and some really intense matches that suck. Because a good skill-based matchmaking is always like litmus testing you. You know, dipping their toe in the water and seeing what the temperature is. Are you improving? Are you declining? Are you kind of stagnating? A good skill-based matchmaking system is always measuring your skill. Do you need harder opponents? Do you need weaker opponents? Are you about where you need to be? A good skill-based matchmaking system is always testing that. This one is almost always giving you your most intense matches to always challenge you. And that's where it's not working. It should not only be giving you super hard matches all the time. That's like not... Like even the matches, like I said like the other day, I said earlier in this video, like I lost twice in a 6-hour play session of Killer on Monday. Not like even though that like I didn't lose a lot of those matches were really intense. A lot of those matches were really intense. And it's just like, at what point is like, am I just tired? What point am I just exhausted? And I think that's what you're seeing with like the steady decline. The steady decline of the player counts. It's just like, people are just tired. People are just exhausted. And yeah, like what Applesauce just said is like, where's the room for like you to bring fun perks? Like if you bring fun perks in this current skill-based matchmaking, you're gonna get stomped on. You're gonna get your teeth kicked in, right? At least when you start getting higher MMR anyways. Like there's no place to run fun stuff anymore. It's just like, it just doesn't. Like it's just, I don't know. having hard matches all the time is a sign that, you know, like I said, a good matchmaking system dips its toe in and see, hey, water warm, water cold. Do you need harder matches? Do you need easier matches? Do you need something in the middle? This game, for some reason, this skill-based matchmaking system always looks in and goes, you always need harder matches. It's like, oh, stop it. Why you keep giving me harder matches all the time? Quit it. Think I'm done? I don't know how much longer. Yeah, exactly. It's like, people are tired. People are over it. And you're just kind of like it's like you're like what you're seeing with the population decline is just like people's fortitude, right? Like, how long can they take it before they're like, ugh, whatever, man, I'm kind of done. I mean, like, I technically play less than I have, right? I used to play this game off stream a lot. I play this game off stream like once every 2 weeks. Used to play it almost every day. Off stream. Did you know that? But now, I play like once every 2 weeks off stream, if that. Because I literally want to play less DBD now.
Buffering, add-ons, etc. Then 2 minutes into the match, they have already obliterated the survivors. Now, personally, I ease off the gas in these situations because I realize, hey, this is the game I like to play. But the majority of killers I play against in solo queue do not do this, at least in EU servers. So you could feel free to blame the players for that, but honestly, it's behavior's fault for implementing SBMM in a game that not only is atrociously balanced at a fundamental level, but is the most fun when players aren't taking it so seriously. MMR is basically a betrayal of what makes the game good. But
yeah, to answer what you said, Justin, we're like, you know, even the best game, like, you would get bored eventually, and like, why would I still play? I don't know. I just like hanging out. It's a social thing for me, right? Like, I love social games. Like I said earlier, I don't play Siege by myself. I play when people ask. And like, to me, with this, it's kind of like, you know, you guys don't ask, but like, I'm here every day, right? Almost. Besides like 2 days a week. It's like, it's just, you know, it's a social thing. Like, I just like hanging out with people, right? I don't know if I would be as into the game if I was doing it by myself, which is probably why I'm kind of like not really playing it off stream right now. But like, you know, it's just, you know, it's like I hang out with the homies, so that like if something's really bad or awful, we can just talk about it, right? If something's really, really bad or awful and I'm miserable, I can just talk about it with my friends, talk about it with the homies. If something's really, really fun, it's way, 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 way more fun and more exciting because I'm like, hey, you know, we did it in front of a group of people. We did it in front of a crowd, you know? It's like, it's a little bit of a different experience than like playing by yourself. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It's like, I just like the experience of spending time with people while playing this game. So it keeps me playing even through rough parts, right? It keeps me playing through rough parts when I can share that with people. So, yeah.
About it. If there's any questions you have about MMR in DBD, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll do my best to help you out. And also let me know, after over a year of having SBMM in DBD, do you all think it has made the game better or worse?
Oh,
let me know.
We saw why it was worse.
Thanks for
watching. Saw why it was worse.
Have a good one.
It's the stats say it's worse. The stats objectively say it's worse. Way worse. But it also feels bad too. So yeah. That's also I played in May of 2020 when the PTV for Pyramid was out. That was when I first started playing. So I started playing very shortly before you, Apple. Very, very shortly before you, actually, which is interesting. Yeah, it's worse. It's way worse. And I think I get that they're like sticking to their guns about it. But like just if we're just looking at purely like stats and numbers, I feel like right now I'm having like every third match I'm having, I'm like stressed or annoyed. But like in the old grade system, like it was like 1 in 5, if that. Just pure guesstimation here. Like I have way more miserable matches under a skill-based matchmaking than I ever did on grading on the grade system. So yeah, like they did a lot of tests, Matt, and we all hated them, and they put it in anyway. That was the most infuriating thing when I remember that all going down, and I remember like like we all almost unanimously said, screw that, that's stupid, and they put it in anyway. Like we almost unanimously all said, bro, that's dumb. Please stop. And they did it anyway. They did it anyway. Like, what do you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen when we all universally said, I don't want that. You just put it through anyway. What did you think the end result was going to be? The caffeinated sweats. There you go. DBD isn't for the average player anymore, and that is their downfall. That was the downfall of VHS. That was VHS' downfall. It was not for the average player. It tried to pretend it was, but VHS wasn't for average players. It was a more intense experience. You had to be way more patient. You had to try a lot. Both sides of that game. It was a more intense experience. DBD was a party game and a very simple game, and that's why people enjoy it. Because you can play it sweatier, but you don't have to. You don't have to. And we saw where VHS is now. We see how VHS is doing. Is that really the model at which you want to? Is that the path you want to take? We see where that path ended, or is ending. It's not dead yet. Just limping along, sad and injured, without anybody left in the match to heal him. That's not where you want to be. It's not where you want to end up. Yeah, I think DBD is unfortunately going into this zone where it's going to be like it's a very slow and subtle decline, and we're just gonna wake up one day and be like, why are my queue times so long? You know, it's kind of scary in a weird way. Like we're just gonna wake up one day and be like, why are our queue times so long? There used to be a lot of people. Like I talked about this in one video too. There's a lot of Swifts I don't see anymore. There's a lot of players I don't see on the game anymore. People I used to run into all the time playing this game. I don't see them anymore. Plenty of killers. I don't run into them anymore. There are killers I used to be like, oh, they're a clown main or they're a pyramid head main, and I run into them sometimes. Like, nope. I don't see the same players anymore. It's gonna be quiet. It's gonna be a very, very quiet fall of this game. It's not gonna be it's not gonna be like oh my god, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the best game ever, and now nobody's playing DBD anymore. It's gonna be quiet. We're just gonna dwindle, and then we'll wake up one day, like 2026, and be like, bro, where'd my game go? Where are my players? You know, might even be sooner than that. We're just gonna wake up and be like, where did that happen? What happened to our game? And it's gonna be sad. When that day comes, it's gonna be sad. There was a point when people compared VHS to DVD and they had really nothing in common. Now they might have something in common if DVD dies. That's rude. That's rude. True, but rude. True, but rude. But funny rude. Funny rude. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, man. I think that's a good way to phrase it. It's like, one day we'll just wake up and we're just like, I don't want to play that anymore. That's what it's already happened to a lot of my friends. I have a lot of my friends. They just one day they just like, logistically, I don't want to play this anymore. That is not worth my time. They wake up and go, I don't want to do that. And that's why the player base is dwindled. Because a lot of people are also hitting that point where they're just like, I don't want to do that anymore. And when too much of that happens, that's the death of a game, brother. That's the death of the game. So, yep. One day you will exit this game for the last time, and you won't know it, but it will be the last time. I think about it a lot. I essentially think about that a lot, Matt, when I'm playing any game. Like any game that I'm super into, I'm like, one day I won't play this anymore. One day I won't play this anymore. Especially like right now. Like, you know, obviously I have so much of my, you know, everything that we've done so far is all DBD related, right? Like we do indie horror games and stuff here and there, but like most of it is DBD. What do I do in the future when like the game dies? I don't know. I do not know. Well, I'm a solo queue main now? Yeah. Also, hi, Lannis, Leolora. Yeah, exactly. And when enough people do that, that's the game, brother. That's your game population going away, and that's it. That is the death of a game. So yeah, skill-based matchmaking has failed, and if it continues to exist, at least in its current form, might take the game down with it. It's not going to be bombastic and crazy. Because I hear this a lot. I hear a lot of people like, well, skill-based matchmaking didn't kill the game because every once in a while we have a Resident Evil chapter and suddenly the player count goes up for a singular month. It's like, no, the game will steadily decline until we just kind of like We just kind of, you know, went whatever happened to DBD, and then we'll have the what killed DBD videos that people make little documentary style videos about what happened to DBD, and then we'll reminisce about the good times of DBD. And man, it was such a shame what happened to that skill-based matchmaking. It's coming. It's coming. If they don't avert their path, it's coming. It's coming.